Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Aggie Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1979. A lot has changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Barker's Heating and Cooling. Gig 'em, Aggies. Aggies will be in Denver to take on Colorado on Saturday, 2:30 for the kick, 1:30 with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. Along with the head coach, Jimbo Fisher. This is the Jimbo Fisher Show, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Your quarterback, Haynes King, first drive, 4 for 4, almost 50 yards in that drive. And you kept saying throughout the spring and in the fall camp, look, we all know about the athleticism of Haynes, and he showed that off, that's for sure. But you kept saying about the things that people didn't know about him. What did you think about his pocket presence and that poise?
I thought it was excellent. I thought he went through progressions really well, made reads accurate with the ball. A couple throws got away from him, got high, got twice when guys got shoved back in his pocket, which is a technique where you got to raise your hands and you can't stride as much. And he caught it. He didn't anticipate it. Made him throw a couple high balls, but that's part of it. We got to adjust, but I thought he was accurate. Thought he was really good on third downs, decision-making, even checking down to like that first one. We overcame that first holding call. That part of it back in 3rd and 7. We had something down the field on 2 big plays. He picks up the third read coming across Chase Lane, picked up the first down. Doing a really good job in that, not being impatient with things, getting through progressions, playing quarterback. And to me, I always say that you don't play quarterback till you can throw the ball and make decisions. The rest of that stuff is all good, but you're not going to win championships. You're not going to play high-level ball. Then the athleticism, when it did need to take off the boots and nakeds, and I told everybody, somebody said, well, one of the interceptions, is that one of the interceptions, decision-making, everything was right, had nothing to do with him, and sometimes that happens. Mm-hmm. The one he got a minus on was the one he ran around, everybody was cheering on for 10 minutes. Because he could have got to one of his third progressions and got the ball out of his hand. So he got a minus for that one and another one for another one. So people, as the coaches all the time. But he could have got and he knew it too. He said, I could have, and I got a little impatient, didn't I? I said, yeah. I said, but at least you had a good ad lib.
That's right.
And got out of there. But no, he can create, and he's fun. And the thing about it, he's competitive. Those plays like that happen not because of athleticism, because of competitors. You have to have athleticism, don't get me wrong. But his competitive nature, just, he got to keep those things. And there's a fine line when that happens, when to do it, when to get rid of it. But, he's got some ability.
That's the trust of the receivers. When you talk about that third receiver, let's say it's Chase Lane. Chase must run that because if 1 and 2's not there, if Chase gets lazy, right?
Exactly. You get there, and that's what they understand. You got 5 full-speed routes. And on our offense, when you really understand it, there's answers for everything, and the guys can get through the progressions. And there's chances in one-on-ones and opportunity. We give the quarterback a lot of freedom, a lot. I mean, it's just like you're doing on Sundays as much, and sometimes maybe more. Because, we put a lot on him, and I think that's the way you play. That's the way I like to play. I don't like to say 1, 2, and throw it away. I like to build answers in and get smart guys, and Haynes is a very smart guy.
I notice every time he comes to the sideline, it was a conversation with you.
And the information coming back was what I was getting from upstairs. That what he saw, why he did it. Coach, I know I messed that up. I should have saw that right there. I should have. When a guy can come off and, I say, regurgitate what's happening, why it's happening, and occasionally you say, no, that's okay, I thought that. But then, okay, if I can see what that would have. Just the conversations we're having were very intelligent, very on point, and never flustered. And one of the things I did find out, which is critical, we talk about quarterbacks and great quarterbacks and players all the time. And you never know what's going to happen until they hit adversity. And some guys have had so much success, and sometimes they're really good, that when adversity hits in big situations, they can't handle it because it's never happened to them before. I know that sounds crazy, but some guys don't ever. He had adversity early with an interception, a couple interceptions, and the answer's coming back, the look in his eye, the presence, the moment was never bigger than what he got too big for him. It never did. And on the sideline of that game. And I know games will get bigger, but that's your first game. That's pretty big too. That's one of the things I found out about him, which really excited me. That okay, I made a mistake. Came over and tell me what I did. I got it. Let's go to the next one, and not get hesitant. Sometimes you go back and all right, I don't want to throw it in there no more. I don't want to throw it in there no more. I purposely went back and threw the ball between the hashes. I want to see what happened. He's a gunslinger now. He'll shoot all his bullets, and he ain't scared to let them go now. So he didn't hesitate.
Is that why you always say players pick the quarterback when a teammate sees him doing that? You can't help but play hard for him, right? Listen,
when you go to the park and you pick teams, you know who you want on your team. Because I'm playing to win. Because if you lose, you go sit down for about an hour and a half. Because I've done it to people. It was when I was growing up playing basketball, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I lost some friends because I used to go to the park. I've got some buddies. They go to the park with me. When we go pick up, I wouldn't pick them. And they'd say, well, I come over with you. Yeah, but I'm playing to win, man. I got you, man. You be buddies off the field. We're gonna play. Well, it's time to win. I need some help out here. And those guys know who they want to play with. And that's why a lot of times in the spring game, I have this thing. I let them pick the team. I let them decide. I like to see their perception of each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's important.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, coming off the win over Kent State, and we're getting set for Colorado on Saturday. We'll come back to the Jimbo Fisher Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The new Bookshire Brothers across from Kyle Field was built for Aggies. There's a bar serving coffee, wine, and beer, a full-service pharmacy, and great values on groceries. And you'll love their grab-and-go meals. Only at Brookshire Brothers, so much more than a grocery store. The Jimbo Fisher Show, it's presented by Capital Farm Credits. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. We touched a little on Haynes King. And on the defensive side, I just have to say this, talking with him in the summer, I'm so proud of where Leon O'Neal Jr. is right now in his career. We've talked about guys who aren't the same at 21 or 22 than they were at 18. He's not the same player now that he was when he first got here.
And you shouldn't be.
Right.
And you shouldn't be the same person. You shouldn't be the same person or player. And that's part of maturity. And that's something you got to remind folks in the world today that, they're 18 to 22 and something don't go right. I'm not saying with him, but I mean any of them. They all grow, mature, and they're going to make – if you can't make mistakes when you're 18 to 22, when can you make them? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody's not perfect. There's things that happen. That's part of maturing. That's part of growing. You have responsibility, but, I mean, we all made them. And the ones who don't, they haven't looked in the mirror and being honest. I promise you that when you're 18 to 22. But he really has. He's really grown, understanding how to, nothing wrong with you. Football's 11 individual battles. You got to be a great player individually, but you got to understand how to bring that onto your team and help your team and understand that charisma and things that go on. I think he's doing a really good job of that and really growing. And as you say, when you become a part of something bigger than you, it's amazing how the rewards come back to you tenfold and what happens. Not that he never was. I'm just saying for any player.
Right.
And he's doing that, and it's all coming back to him. I'm happy for him.
He has talked about, as he was saying, this is playing at Texas A&M is bigger than him. And he realizes, he uses words like, it's the responsibility of us to play well for the 12th man. He talks so much about what can I do to make this team better. He's kind of eliminated the I. We know how important the I is for him when he's on there.
Young guys always talk about their rights and what they should deserve. Old players talk about the responsibilities and obligations. It's a difference. And when you understand that, it's how much better of a player you become. It really is. And it's not far. That's human nature. It's part of growing up, and he's doing it, and it's happening to him.
What has been really fun doing the show now, get a chance to see the pulse before I come in. Normally it's afterwards, and I have to write something down and remember it. And one of those segments, just two of the players you brought in, and you brought in a lot more with the message, but Isaac Bruce and Rod Woodson are part of the pulse and those messages, and those are the greats that they all know. And what a message to be delivered by those guys.
They're in the Hall of Fame. I mean, listen, history is a great teacher, one of your best teachers. Look at why people are successful. Look at why people fail. Which one you want to be, copy them. I mean, and no matter what it can, but what people don't realize why they don't copy them. Wait a minute, there's a lot of priorities that have to get up the chain than what I think they are. You know what I'm saying? You don't have enough time to do everything in the world. If you want to be a great person, you want to be a great student, you want to be a great athlete. There's barely enough time in the day for that. All the other things you got to put away. And the part about things I always try to tell our players, life's backwards. I always say when I grow up, I'll learn from those mistakes and okay. But when you do, the older it takes you to learn those mistakes, you learn them, but your opportunities are very limited. When you're young and you get it right, and you may not always understand it, but you do the right things, stand for the right things. It's amazing when you get older, the opportunities you have are tenfold. Mm-hmm. They're 10 times what they would be because life punishes you for not doing things right early. It really does. And you can overcome them and you can get there. But when you learn to be something and trust, like I tell them all the time, I'm 55. You're 18 to 22. You haven't been 55. You haven't coached for 35 years. Learn to trust. But they don't. I mean, to a point they do, but they still have to trial and error. I was too, you was too, we all were. Yeah. We all had to do it ourselves, and that's part of growing up. But the ones who buy in quicker, happens better.
This reminds me of something Buzz Boyd. Every time I do a show with Buzz, I bring up something that you say. I'm going to do the same thing now and use something he said this week with his basketball team. He said 2 things you get every day: chances and choices. The value of your chances will be determined by your choices.
No doubt.
I'm like, these guys are. You're preaching that message to your student athletes.
The choices you make you. Every choice has a consequence, good and bad. Make good choices, good things happen to you. Make bad choices, bad things happen to you. And listen, you're never going to make perfect choices, but if don't make the perfect choice for the right reason, those things can usually be molded, fixed real quickly and move on. When you make the wrong choice for the wrong reason, that's where you get in trouble. And life's about choices. Don't sit here. You made that choice. Mm-hmm. Make it. I've told you, you do it. And that's what we don't want to accept the responsibility of. You know what I mean? And that's what kids are. They have to understand that life is about choices.
Sometimes you have to say sorry, right?
You
have
do.
To, right?
Yes.
It's not always someone else's fault.
No. And what happens, all of us, we got to take ownership of it. Till you take ownership of you, you're never going anywhere. Even if you're having success, it will eventually fade real quickly.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We will continue with the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the LSU game on November 27th. To register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Ooh, we got a check-in from Mexico. There we go, on Facebook. Texas A&M football page on Facebook. We are streaming this. Much more Coach. If I lean back, you can see much, much more of Coach right there. I wanted to bring up something. You talk about choices and about a young man who kicks for you and Seth Small. After that game ended, he went right to Andrew Glass of Kent State, the other kicker, and had words for him. And I'm like, not surprised, but that just says everything about Seth Small right there.
And like I say, kickers are their own little cult too now. they understand each other. I mean, and I say that because they're different than other players, in that their opportunities are so few, you almost never talk about them unless they do something wrong, unless they hit something, a long kick or a game winner, and they're assumed always supposed to make them. And there's a lack sometimes of appreciation for the consistency that happens, and for him to go over and do that, and somebody who's been through that, who's had it, that surprised me from Seth. Tremendous human being.
He really is, and
great human being.
We learned as he got married in the summer. What I didn't know until someone else told me, and I got it confirmed, Bobby Brown got those two together, and Bobby still keeps taking credit for it the entire time.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and apparently Bobby doesn't let them forget about it.
Interesting.
Just a tremendous young man. I think also on Sunday there are a group of student athletes. They ran a football clinic in the Bryan College Station area. And, I mean, here's their downtime, right? And they're giving back to this community. That's not something that you had to go, right? You're not pushing them. They do that. Those choices.
You always encourage, but you know, a good heart. He's a great heart. He's always going to give, and it doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, that's just the things that you just love to hear about these student athletes. Jimbo, we touched on some of the freshmen. You were saying, and I keep referring to coaches' nights as we go around the state and the different cities, and there were some names that you brought up in the spring, and you brought up again in the camp, but you said, hey, you guys are going to love, when you're talking to the Aggie fans, you're going to love Tyreek Chappelle, and you're going to love Deuce Harmon, you're going to love Shamar Turner, and you named the freshmen who were coming in, and they had the impact in the game on Saturday. How big is that for a freshman to know that they belong on that stage?
Well, you always get there until you go through practice, and then there's a time at practice that I can play here, and then you got, well, can I do it in a game? And getting that first experience and doing it, and they all played really well. And it's like Bryce Foster, starting at center. It started at center. Mm-hmm. People have no idea, besides quarterback, the most cerebral position on the field, making all the calls and doing that. And he didn't come early. That's a guy who only came this summer, didn't come in on normal. So, Shamar gets a sack right off the first series. I told him, I said, you use more energy after the sack before the next play than you did the next 8 plays together. I was teasing him, but it was awesome. Just excitement and joy, those young guys making plays and doing things, and just fun. And we need them. We're going to have those guys to be in our rotation playing great football for us to be the team we need to be.
What's nice is you're getting some guys back as well into your lineup, which always helps.
Getting health back. Listen, you can't have enough healthy guys, especially in this league. You have no idea how physical this league is compared to other leagues in college football. And I don't mean in any negativity, and there's all good, but I mean the week in, week out physicality, size, and power of this league, you could have a lot of people.
When you talk about Brian Foster like you do, it reminds me of what you've always said. Guys who have the balls in their hands, right? Quarterbacks have it in their hands every single time. So does the center.
So does the center.
Right?
I mean, he's making all the calls, all the directions, all the setting everything. It goes on up there. And that was a huge deal for him to do that.
Was that game also big for that offensive line playing together as a unit?
I have no idea. I mean, 4 guys getting calls, getting on the same page, communication, good, bad. And I mean, they did a heck of a job. That's hard. Have 4 of them like that, awesome.
When we come back, question. Ian has the question. If he doesn't have a question, you realize we're down one segment. And so he has to keep coming every week. Ian, your question is next when the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, rolls on from Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Flows through the veins of every Texan at Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Queso is their pro-style offense. Costa Vida is proud to partner with Texas A&M Athletics. We have check-ins from Boise, Idaho, Connecticut, Valencia, California, from the state of Arkansas, from Alaska. You know Effie Constantino has checked in as well.
Wow.
In Australia.
That's awesome.
Okay. Now, I'm glad that Nick didn't punt. Sorry, Effie. But it's good that when Nick doesn't punt.
Hope we keep him on the shelf all year.
That's exactly right. Around the state, Lubbock, Pflugerville, Lubbock as well. They are checking in. It is the Jimbo Fisher Show, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's, and it is question time. And from Ian Curtis, the question, Coach, is what are you most proud of in your coaching career?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, it goes back to the relationships and the people and the players. At the end of the day, it's about the players. I mean, I love coach. I mean, but I love the players. I love practice. I love all the things in the offseason. I love all that stuff. And I still think, hopefully, that, we're helping guys that can go be successful in life, applying the principles we do to try to get them to be champions here, that they can apply those same principles. I do it. The relationships with the players, though, at the end of the day, and your coaches, the people who've worked with you. Good, bad, indifferent, all those things. You push challenges. I mean, it's just like a family. You argue, you fight, you do this, you do that to get things going. But ultimately, it's always one goal, and then the relationship with the players, and hopefully hopefully we're having an impact that allows them to be successful as human beings.
It reminds me of what you have said in the past about that scholarship for a student athlete representing hope.
It's hope. It changes my life. It gives me an opportunity to do things, and sometimes in a family that's never had it, in a community that's never had it, a street that's never had it, an organization, I mean, whatever. And you can be inspiration for other people and do things, and you can pay it back in life, no doubt.
You know how you talk about student athletes loving ball and everything that goes with it? Is that the same thing for you and coaching and everything that goes with it?
Everything. I mean, it does. I mean, like I said, I've never had a job in my life. Even though you work the hours, you do the things you do. I mean, it is. And here's always tell something about coaching. And I mean this. It's not just because it's coach. It's probably everything in life. But they would say, well, I want to be a coach. What do you think? I said, well, can you live without it? Could you go live without it? Well, yeah. I mean, could you do that? Yeah. Then go do that. Don't coach. If you can't live without it, coach. And if you can, go do something else, because it is so consuming, and there's so many things that have to be done. You have no earthly idea, personally, off the field, on the field, coaching, game, all those things, that it consumes every part of you. I mean, it's not everything. I mean, it's always God, family, and ball, but it consumes your family too. I mean, it pulls them in, and the relationships and the things they do. It's a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And what you do, if you're really going to be good at it. Because it's too hard. There's too many good people out there. There's too many good things that have to happen. And there's too many inches you got to go find for your team to be successful. That if you're only in part way, it ain't happening.
And it's more than the X and O's, right? It's the living rooms as well.
Oh, that's everything. Right? I mean, it's the X and O's is the last part of it. You recruit those guys. You got to develop the other culture, the identity, the personalities, develop the competitiveness, develop the understanding of championship behavior. Listen, winning and being a champion is a learned behavior. It is not natural. I mean, some guys are driven for it, but very few. Human nature is to take the easy way out. Human nature is to be average. Human nature is, I've done enough, I need a break. I need a vacation. I need to go here. I need to do that. I made an A on a test. How many people want to make 100 on every test? There's very, very, you can count them, it's in the 1 percentile. That's why the Tom Brady's and Michael Jordans of the world are different. I mean, they're 44 years old and still grinding like they grind. They all say it, but it's easy to say. That's like I say, in December, January, we find out if all the things we were saying in the offseason were all lip service or we meant them.
Yeah.
That's what it gets down to.
And that's what you said after the Orange Bowl, right?
Yes.
This is why we drove you as hard as we did. This is why you put in all this effort.
And guess what?
Was for that moment.
We're going to do it again. Going to do it again, and going to do it again. And that bar's got to raise. The standard's got to raise. No matter how you feel, what it is, standard over feelings. Everybody's into their feelings. Put your feelings away. They don't matter. What matters is what you do.
When you say
feelings are a choice.
Yes.
Feelings are a choice. That's a choice you make. Feelings are a choice. How you feel and how you attempt to feel, it's your choice. Don't choose the wrong one.
I know it's a different use of that word, but you want that feeling after the Orange Bowl.
Yes.
Right? That's what you want.
Pain of discipline, pain of regret.
I love that phrase.
I mean, it is. I mean, listen, pain of discipline is hard, man. It grinds at you each and every day. And after practice, it's over with. And after Saturday, it's there. But the pain of regret, it's easy at the time because you take the easy way out, but you got to live with it for the next 60 years of eating you alive. That pain of discipline puts a smile on your face. You understood why you did it. And then the other things in your life you got to have again. You understand you had the hard work there, go back and do it again. It's not going, if being good was easy, everybody do it. If having success was easy, everybody do it. I don't care what, not just ball, but everything in life. Everything is going to be. So you get out of it what you put in it. You don't get what you want, get what you deserve.
Ian, thank you for that question. Appreciate it, as always, every week. We will come back, talk about the Aggies' opponent on Saturday, Colorado, when we return to the Jimbo Fisher Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs and 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. And we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And it is the Jimbo Fisher Show, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This question just came in during the break, Coach, from Kyler. Targeting almost impacted our game and played a big role in games across the country this past weekend. We want safety. Is it time to look at reforming the targeting penalty?
You know, I had asked that question on my conference today. Listen, the first and foremost thing is safety. I don't care what you say. It's still safety and how you have to be safe for the players. But how you do it, the rules you have, and there may be a time where I think there's certain levels. Now, I think it's hard to judge when you're at the point thing. I think how we get to there, I mean, there's different levels and penalties. But at the same time, sometimes like every one, if you look in our game, was there 3 that were thrown? They were all overturned.
Correct.
That were all overturned. I mean, and that's great, but you ought to be able to judge a little bit better than that, in my opinion. But I guess this happened I wasn't paying attention much. I guess it happened all over the country. I mean, somebody said there was 5 in one game. Mm-hmm. Was there 5 or something in the game? I don't know which game it was. So I remember somebody on our staff said that today. And that's 5 guys. He had like there were 3 on one side, 2 on the other or something. And we teach not to do it. And to me, big thing, crown the helmet. I don't care where it is. At least get the crown out. And the launching to the head and shoulders, you can't do. I mean, that's things we try to emphasize. But sometimes when a guy's running and he drops his pads, you got to drop your pads, and it's safety. And here's the other thing: the guy on offense can't run straight up and down and get his head knocked off. I mean, at the same time, and say I don't want to lower my head, so you don't lower your head. I mean, there's a fine line in there, and we got to have some common sense. And then some of the things I think are blatant aren't called, and then some of the ones that are. I mean, but I wish it would get defined a little bit better. I think it has been, but I don't have the answer. I'm not saying that, but there's got to be, and I think there's blatant, crazy, stupid mistakes that need to be automatic ejections, and I think sometimes things are inevitable because of the situation that don't need to be. That's just my opinion. And I think there's levels. Maybe there's a penalty, but not eject a guy. When you eject a guy, man, that's a heck of a penalty, man. I mean, that's a heck of a penalty to absorb in your team, to absorb in the next game.
Yeah. This isn't baseball 162 games.
No, I mean, and it ain't you
Right.
I mean, you only get 12.
Yeah. And
in this game, one loss can put you out the picture, as we found out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, only one. I mean, and that can affect you. And I think when you're talking about outcomes of games, I say, you're getting to that point. So I think we need to understand the responsibility on the other side when you're ejecting a player, which I get to safety. I'm all for safety.
Right.
But at the same time, the impact it has on the other kids on that team when it's not an intentional, blatant disrespect to the rules, in my opinion.
Kyler,
I don't know if that answered your question, but I took up a lot of time.
It did. I'm going to take a break. We're going to talk about Colorado next break, okay? The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, returns. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Final segments of tonight's edition of the Jimbo Fisher Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's, and I'm just going through some of the comments. Coach, thanks for rewarding the Zettler kid with a scholarship. It's from Brian. We can't say thank you enough. We are still speechless.
Well, listen, all those kids that happened to,
I
didn't reward them. They rewarded themselves. You get what you deserve.
Yep.
And they all rewarded themselves. Very well earned.
Seems like it became a theme for the show tonight, didn't it?
Yeah.
About that. Preston wants to know, God, I love Wednesdays because of Jimbo's show. And Julio says, love the culture you're instilling.
Well, hope so. We keep instilling it. We got to get it there.
Absolutely. Colorado on Saturday against the Buffaloes, a win over Northern Colorado, and the challenge becomes that much more difficult on Saturday.
Yeah, they had a very good team last year, a lot of success offensively. Big offensive lineman, left tackle's very athletic guy. Tailbacks are outstanding, multitude of them. I mean, NFL guy, quarterback's athletic, can make all the throws across the field. Great looking group of receivers. Jerry Rice's son is one of them.
Yeah.
All 6'6" guys, 190 to 205 pounds, athletic tight ends, very physical. Defensive front, big, 6'7", 270, 6'6", 325, 6'2", 310. 6'4", 265. I mean, guys, backers are big. All secondary guys, 6 foot or bigger. Athletic guys, kickers, punters, returners. Got a 10-7 guy returning kicks and punts, and Rice's son on kickoffs. I mean, very athletic group. Went to a good bowl game last year. Lost one tough game in their own league, and then lost in the bowl game to Texas, who played very well in the game. But very good team going up there to Colorado to play our first road game. A lot of new kids with us. Big test for us. Find out a little bit who we are. Hopefully we can grow from it and learn from it and play well.
Get a chance to play in an NFL stadium.
Yeah, those are cool. It's always a great experience for those guys and what goes on and what happens. And, it's great to be in Denver, a great city.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, but everybody likes to bring up altitude in games like this. If the altitude was really a difference, wouldn't the Denver Nuggets be undefeated? Yeah. Wouldn't the Colorado Avalanche be undefeated?
I've been there with two different teams.
Yeah.
Your
Florida State team won there. Correct?
Couple times.
And
BYU and some different places. We call some pro teams. Teams that won the most in Denver of all. I'm not going to say which team.
Yeah.
They said, what'd you bring? A well-prepared team. They brought a well-prepared team, played very well, and won the game. Okay? So listen, there's what's there? How do you prepare for humidity of the South and you're from the North? I mean, there's issues that go, but I know this. I always told this story one time. I was at the Broncos training camp in '97. I was up there seeing with a guy named Larry Evanson who played at A&M. Was a good friend of mine. We were coaching at Auburn. Was up there seeing him and Gary Kubiak. Well, first time I met Gary, now I've become very good friends with him. And he was the OC, and we were watching. We stayed there for a week and watched camp. It was actually the first time they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, gotcha.
That was that year. And that time I was young, and I was running about 5-6 miles every day, noon running, doing everything. And I get up and I go to run. They said, be careful of the altitude. And they said, be careful of it, do it, be careful when you're running. So I take off jogging. I get out to 2 or 3 miles, and I slowed my pace down because I used to run a pretty good pace. So, okay, let me pick it up. All of a sudden, I took off running. And I got down. I got 6 miles in. I come back, and they said, well, how was it? And they said, did altitude get you? I said, listen, altitude might have been bad, but I know where I was at in Auburn, and it's about 102 degrees with humidity and about 98 degrees, and I walk outside and sweat. I'll trade you. I'll trade you this thin air for that humidity in about 2 seconds when I was jogging. I'll promise you that back where I came from at the time. But I mean, it does have effects on certain people. And there's certain people who have conditions and things like that we're aware of. I joke about it, but there's always obstacles. But listen, we'll be fine.
Yeah,
we'll be fine.
Are you the believer in the statement, or do we as broadcasters use it as cliche? Biggest improvement is week 1 to week 2.
I always say that depends on the team. Depends on the team's attitude, if they want to get better. I always say this, you get better when you want to get better. You get better when you want to get better. If you want to get better week 3, you want to get better week 4, you want to get better. And the good teams want to get better every week, and they keep getting better every week. The ones that don't. And that I think that's a cliche, and it's stuck somewhere. And because usually here's what happens. First game to second game, there's so many silly things because maybe you're not on a clock on a 40-second clock for your plays getting in. You're not on the timing, the substitutions, the rhythm at the tempo you have to have, and you do it in practice, but you don't do it within the time frames. And kids, it's the first time that you're all on the same bench, and offense and defense and special teams are mixed together. I think those things cause a lot of, coaches' nightmares with the headaches and things. And usually the more games you play, the quicker. And usually by that second game, if you've had some bad ones, the coaches have went off, so you pay a lot more attention by the second game. But I'm a believer, though, that you get better each week when you want to get better. And hopefully we'll get better this week.
We'll see you on Saturday. Beat the hell out of Colorado on Saturday in Denver. You
That's
got
the plan.
This has been the Jimbo Fisher Show, and it is presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. We will join you on Saturday. 2:30 is the kick. 1:30 we'll join you for the St. Joseph Health pregame show. Will Johnson, Dave Elmendorf, and I. We'll see you then all along the network. Thanks for joining us this evening. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.